Hey guys, Ange here to break down UFC 287, Pereira versus Adesanya 2. What a really great event. A lot of great fights, especially in the main card. And the main event was just outstanding. So Israel Adesanya defeats Alex Pereira in round 2 by KO. That's kind of what I was predicting, like that's what Izzy said, that's what I predicted. I thought maybe round 2 or 3. There was just something really amazing about his vibe this week and his confidence that wasn't really there before, but he just didn't seem to be wavered at all by that last fight, I really thought. So he came in with a really good game plan, was moving forward a lot, that helped him get to Pereira a little bit better, rather than backing up and using the cage a bit as his kind of safety net. No, but overall a really great fight. Pereira, he started to catch up to Izzy a little bit in the second round, I thought. His leg kicks were doing the job again, and then Izzy felt that kick that really damaged his leg in the second round. But then he used that to his advantage with the rope-a-dope, and he lulled Pereira into thinking that he was hurt, and he just countered off that, and it was so quick. When I saw that knockout, I just it took me a little while to sort of figure out what had happened exactly, because Izzy is so quick that he is like twice as. It almost seems like for every punch that Pereira threw, Izzy would throw maybe 2 back. Very similar to the first Whittaker fight where Izzy became champion. He just, for every one that Whittaker threw, he gave him 2 back. And you have to really slow it down in slow motion to really see what he's doing. So it's just an outstanding and very inspirational win for Izzy and for a lot of us MMA fans. Regardless if you like Izzy or not, like how cool is it to overcome like a demon in your mind that's just always been there, and you've been finished like twice by this guy, and you should have won one of the fights. It must just feel amazing, really amazing. So yeah, I think the main thing for Izzy was his energy, and just also his approach to this fight. He had more of a sort of he wasn't interested in talking, straight to the point. He was very clear in his mind what he wanted to do, and he wasn't going to entertain others with that so much. I still feel like Pereira fought a very good game plan, and I did think that like the weight cut would be an issue, and I kind of wonder if he hadn't been cutting so much weight, would he have got hurt so badly by those shots by Izzy? But I think it was also because he just didn't see them. He wasn't expecting them to come back, and he got caught off guard. And when you're caught off guard, you just don't know. If you don't prepare for the punches, that's it. So yeah, Izzy had really great energy. He did the spirit bomb, which if you don't know, I don't even know if he was referencing Dragon Ball Z, but Goku, the main character, he does a spirit bomb where he raises his arms up and he gets all the energy from every living creature on Earth, and it felt like Izzy was doing that, and I think he was doing that, and he used that energy and that focus to win. And you know, spiritual people like this are rare in this day and age, so just really grateful for that. For Pereira, you know, I don't think he should really be upset with this loss. I mean, after all, he did sort of get fast-tracked to fight Izzy, and he defeated him, and that was a really big win in its own right. They're very evenly matched, regardless of the speed and the technique advantage for Izzy. They're both on par with each other as fighters, but it's evident now that I think Pereira is a little bit bigger for this weight class, and I think he'll do well at light heavyweight. As long as these weight cuts haven't taken too much of a toll on him, I think he'll do really well in light heavyweight, and give himself a bit more time to learn a little bit more about being a mixed martial artist. And it'll be interesting to see how he does at light heavyweight. And I don't think, you know, although he probably, of course he didn't want to lose his belt after, you know, just getting it and losing it to Izzy like that, and now he's probably not going to be able to get a rematch. I think it's not such a bad loss. It's not such a bad thing for him to have done what he did, and now he can go up to a weight class that suits him better, because he is a little bit, even though he's dangerous down here at middleweight, he's still, you can tell he's not fully energized. He looks so much better at light heavyweight, I believe. For Izzy, I really want to see him fight Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland hasn't been favoured very well in the rankings, but I do believe he's the rightful #1 contender. He's proven himself. Of course, he lost to Pereira, but he's been taking all the fights, last-minute fights. He's been looking so good, and I think that there's no other clear contender. I think Dricus du Plessis he's ahead of Sean in the rankings, but he hasn't really had the same sort of caliber of fights or the same sort of activity as well. So I think if the UFC do the right thing and know what's good for the promotion, they'll get Sean Strickland on, because we'll have a really good fight week, really good shit talk, and I don't really think Sean could have much of a chance against Izzy, but it'll be fun. And you never know, he might, but I reckon that'll be really fun. Yeah, overall, I just think Izzy had really good fight awareness and intuition, and I thought that would win him the fight. Not that I know everything that he was doing. Like, even when these two guys are striking, I'm like, okay, what are they thinking? What's happening here? And when they started for round #1, I was like, oh god, this is going to be another chess match. I'm like, I don't know if that's the best thing, because I know Izzy works really well off instinct as well, and I thought that would be the way to win this fight. But what I saw, what he was doing in round 2 was like, I think Izzy's reached a point now where he knows where to switch it on, switch it off with the instinct and with actually telling himself what to do, and he's really evolving. Like, he's getting better. Maybe, you know, Pereira brought that out of him, because if Pereira never came into the mix, maybe he would have never changed his point fighting ways. But this is so good. This is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Izzy, to have Pereira beat him and then come back and beat him like this. So all in all, yeah, it'll be really good to see what happens after this for Izzy, and also for Pereira. But I think, you know, they've definitely lifted each other up. Okay, Gilbert Burns defeats Jorge Masvidal by unanimous decision. I think most people saw that coming. We would have maybe hoped Masvidal to have a more competitive fight. He was okay, he did alright, but he just knew that his heart wasn't in it anymore, and he retired. It's really great to see Masvidal retire now rather than later. I thought he still looked pretty good in the fight, but you could tell that he wasn't taking the same opportunities that the old Masvidal would have taken maybe a few years ago. Gilbert Burns played it pretty safe too. Like, he wasn't going to make any mistakes against Jorge, because that was going to be the time for Jorge to capitalize. Gilbert Burns he kept the ground, the fight on the feet, sorry, the first round, and then he started to mix it in and take Masvidal down a bit. Masvidal did great on the takedown defense. And yeah, it's interesting, because Masvidal seems to really care about being a complete mixed martial artist, even though it probably never needed to be relevant to him. It's good to see him want to be the best mixed martial artist he can be, but it's also good to see that now he knows that he's done competing. So yeah, that's that. Great career by Jorge, and he's always going to be remembered as that badass guy that can KO you with a knee in 5 seconds. For Gilbert, I think he said that he wants the next title shot after Colby, and he says if he doesn't get it, he will leave the organization. I mean, sure, you can talk like that, but don't forget about Bilal Muhammad. So I still don't think Gilbert's next in line. I still think it's Bilal, but who knows what the organisation will do. But I think it's ridiculous to talk like that and know that other people are just way ahead, but whatever. So Rob Font KO's Adrian Yanez in the first round. That was completely what I wasn't expecting. I thought, oh, Rob's a little bit old and a little bit, you know, slower, but he looked so good in the box. His boxing was crisp. And even though he got caught a bit defensively, he did end up just catching Adrian Yanez with that last shot. I forgot what it was, but it was clean, and so he got marked up a bit in the process, but he knocked out Adrian Yanez, who was coming up in competition. So it just shows you never underestimate someone who's in the top sort of 5-ish area when they're taking on someone up and coming. Like, it's such a leap in competition. That's something I've got to keep in mind next time I make my predictions. But it was a great performance for Rob Font, and I'm really happy for him to have that. Kevin Holland KOs Santiago Ponzinibbio in the round 3. So this started off being a really cool fight. Holland looked really great from the beginning. He looked like he was starting to sort of flake off a little bit in the second, and especially at the start of the third round, you're like, oh my god, is this where he's going to just go all loopy and like... But he used that well, and he just caught Ponzinibbio with that really great punch. And that was that. And Ponzinibbio was face planted into the canvas. Really great performance by Kevin Holland, even though he seemed to be a bit loopy in the end, but maybe that was just his game plan. And lastly, Christian Rodriguez upsets the apple cart and defeats Raul Rosas Jr. by a unanimous decision. So yeah, I guess that's what happens when you rush like a boy against a man. It's 25 and 18-year-olds. It's quite a massive difference there, especially when once you're 25 you have a lot more strength. So I guess Raul Rosas Jr. was exposed a little bit here, and he seemed to be very eager to submit him, and he sort of rushed in there. He looks pretty green. Against someone with less confidence, he would have had a lot more success, but Rodriguez stood his ground. Rodriguez did miss weight, I have to mention. So I thought maybe he would have had a bad weight cut. He looked alright though. It wasn't by a large margin. But he stood his ground. He was very patient, and he kind of waited for Raul to sort of gas out a bit, and then he just controlled him for the next 2 rounds. But he didn't submit him, so there's sort of a win in there for Rosas. He didn't get finished. But I kind of, at least like, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't really on the feet, this fight, because you don't want to see anyone really young get beat up, especially when they're not fully like grown and their brain hasn't matured. And yes, so I guess there's no such thing as a free lunch. Like, you can get in the UFC when you're young, but is it always the best thing? And Raul Rosas Jr. is like really confident for his age, and he seems really experienced and really talented and skilled, but then again, is it still really worth it? Like, you probably want to have a bit more adversity before you get to the UFC, or at least, I don't know, like, you can never know when's the right time, but it's nice to see people just maybe get a few more years on them before they get into really tough competition, especially if he's matched up with someone that can really strike and piece him up. Really happy with Izzy getting his revenge and bringing order to the middleweight division. It's just such a great story, and he's so inspirational. Even if you don't like him, you can always take something away from that, like never giving people an inch in your mind and fortifying your mind, as he said, and getting back up again. That's true. Like, you gotta just keep getting up, and you'll find happiness. So it's just a really great way to end the night. So yeah, just a shorter one today, but thanks for stopping by. Yeah, see you around the traps.